Hi, my name is Guillaume Ross, and I'm the head of security here at Fleet Device Management. We make open source software that helps you solve endpoint mysteries. We make Fleet and Orbit, which use Osquery and make it easier to use. So today we're going to take 6 minutes and 40 seconds to talk about these tools and how they can help you. Osquery is an open source endpoint tool that exposes systems as if they were a relational database. There's close to 300 tables on Osquery, and they're cross-platform. That means you can use standard SQL syntax to ask pretty much anything of your systems. And unlike a lot of security tools, macOS support is not an afterthought. There's so many tables. With these tables, you can know what's running, what users exist, what apps are installed. Does this file with this hash exist? Who's got that malicious Chrome extension installed? What machine is connecting to that suspicious IP? With 273 tables, a lot of them are cross-platform and others are specific to one operating system. If you're really security-minded, you might be thinking, sure, there's tables that I can query, but what if something suspicious happens between two queries? That's where events tables come in. These evented tables will record using different operating system APIs, for example, on Mac endpoint security, what happens at all times. Osquery can be used locally on a machine using Osquery I in a shell. For example, here I'm selecting the users table to see any user that has Guillaume in its description. But who wants to SSH into a machine to do that? We typically use Osquery I more for troubleshooting or creating new queries than anything. This is where Fleet comes in. Osquery has a daemon running in the background that can talk to a server over HTTPS. That server is what Fleet is. Through Fleet, you can configure Osquery, send queries on the fly, schedule queries, centralize the output of Osquery to a centralized logging system like Snowflake, Elastic, or Splunk. Fleet also gathers software inventory using all the tables available in Osquery. It then matches that against known vulnerabilities so you can detect vulnerabilities on your Macs, on your Windows machines, your Linux systems, not only in installed apps, but also in tools that are installed via package managers such as Brew. And you don't need to scan, and the heavy lifting is done on the server side. You can also create policies, which are queries that pass or fail. For example, does this machine have unencrypted SSH keys? If yes, I want that to fail. Is this machine up to date? If yes, I want that to pass. Is this machine encrypted? Is Gatekeeper running? Is the firewall on? Here are two examples of simple queries. The first one checks if the application layer firewall is enabled on a Mac, and the second one checks that Gatekeeper is enabled. These are very straightforward policies because they're just looking for something that exists. And if it does, then it passes. So that global state is equal or bigger than 1, it passes. You can make negative policies or policies that pass if something is not present, like unencrypted SSH keys, by using select one where not exists and then putting your query into a subquery. So this policy will pass if there are no unencrypted SSH keys. Vulnerabilities and policies in Fleet can be integrated to various systems such as Jira or Zendesk or anything that supports webhooks. At Fleet, we use Fleet with Tines and Slack to detect vulnerabilities and then message a channel and people to tell them that their machine needs to be updated or that it's failing a policy. But another way we have of letting people know about that is Fleet Desktop, which lives in the status bar and lets you see information about your system. You click there and in your browser, you'll see all the different policies. If you click a policy, you'll get remediation information about it. And you can also see your own software as well as vulnerable software so people can self-maintain their systems. To use Osquery, you need to deploy it, make a package, roll it out, deploy it with Monkey or something like that, configure flags, which are configuration options at the command line or in a configuration file, deploy enrollment secrets to a machine, and then once you've done all that, you'd still need to deal with the updates because it does get updated pretty often. With Orbit, you don't need to do any of that. You simply need to go to Fleet, get the command line that you need to run to create a package that will automatically connect to your Fleet instance because the enroll secrets will be built in. There's a few different configuration options, and you can generate packages for Mac, Windows, RPM, and Deb using Orbit. When you create a package with Orbit, by default, it'll be on a stable Osquery release, and you'll get automatic updates by default. If you like living on the bleeding edge, you can switch to that. You can pick what you want in terms of updates between Osquery, the Fleet Desktop, as well as Orbit itself. So you completely control this. And when we say there's a secured update server, well, we use the update framework, which is a great acronym, tough. So our root keys and target keys are kept offline. This is what we use to sign new releases. Snapshot keys, as well as timestamp keys, are kept online. But the worst someone could do with these keys is force a downgrade of an existing version. Now, if you're in a super secure environment or an air-gapped environment, we also let you run your own tough update system. It's essentially just a bunch of files on an HTTP directory. It could be S3 or any other HTTPS server. You can make your own keys and sign your updates, or you could just pin the version that you want and get it from us. Some upcoming features in Orbit are the ability to update Osquery command line flags from Fleet, as well as package extensions with Orbit. And talking about extensions, the MacAdmins Osquery extension is already built into Fleet. That's how we get MDM information as well as Chrome profile information in the Fleet UI. So between Osquery, Fleet, Fleet Desktop, and Orbit, you now have a 100% open source stack that allows you to deploy Osquery, keep it up to date, query it in real time, detect vulnerabilities as well as unsafe configurations using policies, and you can integrate all of that to other systems you have using our built-in integrations, webhooks, and Fleet APIs. Try Fleet with our super easy Docker setup or with the new Fleet Sandbox, which is all in the cloud in a few clicks. And if you'd like more information about Fleet, you can follow me, follow Fleet, or join the Fleet channel on the Osquery Slack, which you can do at fleetdm.com/Slack. Thank you very much.